not, but we will see. I'm going to go live. All right. We are live. Can someone let me know if you're on YouTube or Facebook that you can hear me? Am I live? Can I get an amen? Can I get a howdy? Can you guys see me? Can you guys hear me? Can somebody give me a comment in the chat? Yes, Edgar, amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right. Well, we're going to get this party started. I am super excited that you are all here with me. I see some what I call polished solid posse. I see Nikki. I see Edgar. I see Harold Pride. My love sexy. Oh my God. Where's my love sexy button? I got to figure out. I got to figure out where it is. I haven't played it in a while. Hold on. Let's see. I'm on the wrong stack. Hold on. Let me see if I can find that real quick. My sounds. And okay, I know where it is now. So let me wait till that goes down. So yeah, sexy. All right. So that was for my brother and love sexy Harold Pride. Hi, Audra. 404 is in the house. Always love it when 404 is in the house. Annie's here. Thank you for joining me. I know you said that you would. Howdy D. It is so great to have you here. And I am very excited. In the backstage, I got Mr. Michael Dean, the one and only. He's going to be joining us later. But we're going to get this party started with a little bit of housekeeping and some prologue. So I want to give let me actually do something real quick. Hide that little thing there so you don't see it. I want to give a very, hi, Tanya. Hi, Olga. Oh my God. It's so great to have you here. I want to give a massive shout out to El Dabara for this gift that he gifted me on Twitter. I thought it was really fantastic. And for those of you who may not know where that image is from, it's from one of Jack Nicholson's best films, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And it says, once a week for a year. Yes. Okay. See you there. See you there. So yes, I am crazy. If you didn't know I was crazy before, you definitely know I'm crazy now because we are going to do a 2-year plus investigation of what Prince did every week. And why am I doing this? One, because taking a cue from Michael Dean, work it like a job. I want to continue to do my Prince scholarship. Work has been really hectic this past year. And I want to also take a cue from Prince. And Prince did a lot every week. And so this is actually for me more than it is for anyone to remind me that I can't complain because compared to Prince, I'm not doing nothing. So this is going to be like a weekly reminder that I need to get my butt in shape for doing all my Prince projects. There is absolutely no excuse. I want to give some shout outs to Stephanie Mills, some stuff to Laura Tebert. Olga, thank you so much. I am not crazy. I appreciate that. All right. So I want to do this disclaimer first. The estate of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series, nor has it endorsed or sponsored the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. Further, the estate of Prince Rogers Nelson has not licensed any of his intellectual property to the producers, advertisers, or directors of What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. So that's out of the way. All right, some more housekeeping. We're going week to week, Sunday to Saturday of 1983, not date to date. If you don't know what that means, no worries. Just remember, when you're looking at your book, Sunday to Saturday of 1983 will be the week that we are talking about. So there is a detailed schedule. And actually, let me see if I can pull it up and kind of walk you around it. Okay, this is working out pretty good. So you will see here that we have the dates here for every Saturday, and then we have the pages in the expanded edition. So now if you don't have the expanded edition, these pages are not going to match. But it's okay if you don't have the expanded edition. If you have the original edition, that's totally fine, because the main thing you need to do is to follow the beginning chapter and the ending chapter, which is based on the date. So for today, we're going to talk about Saturday, January the 1st, 1983 until Saturday, January 8th. Next week, we're going to be talking about Sunday, January 10th until Friday, January 14th. And then you will, this is the URL to the YouTube channel in case you forget. And over here, if I have any guests, they will also be in this little spreadsheet. And you will notice that on week 4, there are no pages to read, but we will still be meeting because we are going to do an overview of the month of January. So we are doing a slow read because, as you know, Duane's books are large and they are a heavy commitment, but I actually want you to read them. So I was like, wait, let's go back here. Let's look at this. It's not that big of a commitment. So you can see for today, you only had to read like 5 pages. There are going to be some days where you only have to read a couple pages. It's going to vary depending on what's going on. So yes, Jennifer, Prince School. So Edgar asked a really great question, silly question. No, it's a great question. How will you proceed on dates that clash with, for instance, the Triple Threat Symposium? Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-record the session and still have it pre-record the session, but probably have to release it on a different day because we're also live streaming Triple Threat. So we'll figure it out. I have to think a little bit more about that. Hello, cousin. Hi, Margot. Margot is my real cousin, not my fake cousin, but my real cousin. Thank you so much for joining. All right, so let's go back to the slideshow. So that's the detailed schedule. If you go, I don't know how to get to the detailed schedule, you just type in your browser bit.ly, and that's bit.ly/Prince Book Club. Or if you have a cell phone, you put it up to the screen, you will can go through the QR code. Yes, this has come up. These will be archived on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/polysolid. For those of you who are on YouTube, you know where you're supposed to be. And then also on my Facebook page. And I've already said this. Yes, you do not need the expanded edition to participate, but the schedule is based on it. That's really important to understand. And I highly recommend that you actually get the expanded edition. And I'm sure that when Duane comes on, and he is here, I'm so excited. He will also encourage you to get the expanded edition, only because there are also some corrections. And that way you're not confused. Okay, so we're going to be talking about 1983 for this year. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the newbies, because Michael Dean told me we need to talk to the newbies out there, because sometimes I forget to talk to the newbies. And so for those of you who don't know anything about Prince, and I hope that some of you don't, and I hope that you'll join us for the year, let's talk a little bit about what Prince did from 1978 to 1982. We're not going to talk a lot about it because otherwise we would be here all day. And we don't have time for that. So Prince did 5 tours during 78 to 1982. And these headers are from princevault.com. And princevault.com, in my opinion, is like the Prince Bible. There is no definitive source better than princevault.com. They constantly update it. And yeah, so Prince Vault, I got these headers from there. So Prince did a 1979 Prince tour for his second album. He did a 1980 tour with Rick James for the Turn It Up tour. He also did his own Dirty Mind tour. He did a Controversy tour with The Time. And then he did a 1999 tour with The Time and Vanity 6. And this is actually once we start Duane's book, we're actually in the middle of that tour. And speaking of the 1999 tour, I just want to see. say that we're having an upcoming symposium at NYU in person at the end of March, celebrating the 1999 tour. The fans dubbed it the Triple Threat Tour because it was a triple lineup of Vanity 6 at the time and Prince. And so we're super excited. It's going to be 3 days. We're also going to live stream it. So that's where Edgar's question comes in, and is really important because it will conflict with one of these dates. So I got to figure out how I'm going to rectify that. And from 1978 to 1982, Prince actually released 4 albums as Prince, 2 as The Time, and 1 as Vanity 6. Now, I wanted to actually take some time to show these to you because I'm into record collecting and I think it's really important. So, and also for the newbies, because Michael Dean told me don't forget about the newbies. So this is Prince For You. This is the first one, 1978, Warner Brothers. This is the second Prince album, Prince, self-titled, 1979, the Farrah Fawcett Do. This is the third album, Prince, Dirty Mind. This is the album where I was introduced to Prince. 1980, Warner Brothers. This is my favorite Prince album ever, Controversy, 1981, Warner Brothers. And we have The Times debut, 1981, Warner Brothers. Amazing. I actually love the back cover more than, so you got to have the vinyl. You got to have the vinyl just for the back cover. I mean, this is like fantastic. Then we have Prince 1999, which was 1982, first double album, Warner Brothers. And one of my favorite things about this is the freaking eye. Let me see if I can get that eye right. I probably won't. The eye on the vinyl. Love it. Then we have one of the best albums ever recorded. Ever. What Time Is It? The Time. Again, I always love The Times back covers. 1982, Warner Brothers. And then, last but definitely not least, Vanity 6, Warner Brothers, 1982. All right. Okay. So that's 1978 to 1982 for Prince. And we're going to get started week 1, pages 1 through 6 of the expanded edition of Prince. The expanded edition of Prince and the Purple Rain Era Studio Sessions 1983 and 1984 by Mr. Duane Tudahl. This is why we're doing a very slow read of this book. As you can tell, so if you don't have the book, it's like 541 pages. So it's actually a lot. And let me go back to my slide really quick. And I have a few more slides, and then we're going to get into the conversation. If I can get this to work. Okay, here we go. So week 1, 1983, we got 2 live shows, and we got 2 studio visits. So the 2 live shows were the Summit in Houston, Texas, and we also have Lake Charles Civic Center, and I got a typo that I'm going to fix, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yes, Marsha, it will take the whole year. And then the studio visits were for Little Red Corvette, the 12-inch overdubs and mix. And that's one record I forgot to pull out of my collection. I do have it, but I forgot about that one. I know I was going to forget something. And so there we go. So I am going to I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to bring up my guests, and we're going to bring on Mr. Duane Tudahl.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Yes, I can hear you. You sound good. You look good. I am super excited that you're here to join us to kick this off. And then we have, last but definitely not least,
What's up?
Men, Michael Dean. So I am super excited. And thank you for all of you who have joined. So Duane, I'm going to kick it off. So it's been a while since this book was released.
Yes,
You also released a second volume. Yes.
Second one. Happen to have it close.
Yes. So and then even with this one, you had the original edition, and then you put out the expanded edition. So can you talk a little bit about what that journey has been like? And then when I talked about doing this, going back to the first book, did it give you chills? Did it give you sweats? What was it like going back to the first book? What was that like?
Well, little history. The first book came out in November of 2017, and the second book, the expanded version, came out in November of 2018. The expanded book, just so people understand, is about 50 pages more. Once the first book came out, nobody knew who I was, and some people didn't want to interview. And once the first book came out, some people came out of the woodwork and said, you know what, I want to talk to you now, or I've got more to that story. So I thought, well, I could either just keep that stuff on the shelf and never do anything with it, or come out with an expanded book. Hey, Edgar. An expanded book that had this stuff in it. Additional interviews with Brenda Bennett, Bobby Z, a lot of people like that. And that was kind of fun because people wanted to put their spin on what was coming out and add information to it. And there's a part in the front of the book that has a section that says what is new in the book, because I didn't want to do a book that had a bunch of stuff and nobody knew where to look. So there's a little paragraph that has a good chunk of what it is, new songs I've never heard of before, things like that. When you asked me about this, first off, I was honored. I mean, hello, it's just amazing that somebody would be wanting to do a project like this. And I was flattered. And then I started getting the sweats because I thought, oh gosh, have I forgotten this stuff? Over the past couple of years, because I've worked on a second book and I'm working on a third book, and there's only so much my brain can hold. And after a while, it starts to flush things out and squeeze things out. So I started looking through this and I was going, oh, this is fun. There's some stuff in here that I'd kind of forgotten. And when I started looking at this, the first week of 83, I went back and looked back at the last week of 82 to understand some context. And the big thing I learned and reminded myself was that this was not a real high point for Prince at the moment. His album was, basically peaked. His single was on its way down. Vanity Six's album, I think, had already gone off the charts. It peaked, and the time was basically not doing great. The tour was, I don't want to say struggling, but it was doing well financially, but it wasn't the big breakthrough he had hoped. And on top of that, he had just had a concert a couple days earlier in Louisiana, I think it was, that he didn't even play. Like, he was still so sick he couldn't play, and he came out and told the crowd, I'm not going to be playing tonight. So it was, and he was about to take a break with the tour to reconfigure it, because the time, in a lot of ways, was kicking his butt. And that's kind of a cool piece of information to know that the Time, who I love, was his creation, was actually, covering him up. And this is Prince. I see Prince as always being like here, and to know that he's going through a little bit of a readjustment is I think kind of cool. It's nice knowing that he wasn't born like this. This is something. Prince was what he created, and that grew over time. And there's gonna be times that he was a little working it like a job, so to speak. and it just, I think that knowing that he was not given this stuff and it just came out naturally, it did, but he worked it. He made sure he played harder, worked longer, and all this other stuff than anybody else. And this is a time when he was realizing, I have to work even harder. And I think that's pretty cool. So that's a little context. So
thank you for that context. So Michael Dean, say hello to the brethren and sisters out there.
What's up, everybody out there? I'm watching in the chat. It's just so interesting. I get to just kind of be on the back and just chill. So I'm just like, you got your stuff. It's all organized. You got the slideshow. So this is great. Like, thank you for allowing me to be on there. What's up, Duane? How you doing?
How you doing, Michael? Always good to see you, man.
It's early over here on the West Coast, but
I know that.
we in the building.
I was up late last night. My daughter's in she's in a Girl Scouts and she's doing a go-kart thing. So we were
Okay.
up last night as a family working on the go-kart. So I'm a little, a little groggy here.
I would, if I could say, listening to the intro, and of course, just going over the first few pages of the book again, and kind of reiterating what Duane said. It's so interesting to see Prince at this time, because on one hand, he has his audience base already. Like, he's built a career. Those tours you just talked about real quickly, and all those albums, for a lot of people, that's your career. Like, you did it. And to be able to put your people on, and to have multiple time albums, the girl group Vanity Six, and those types of things, and then you dropping a double album in 1983, and you knew, like, you've been in the game for 6 years. That's deep. Like, the fact that there's still the expectation of it's supposed to blow into this whole other stratosphere, and looking at it now, it's very interesting. And I'm like, wow, like, he was still grinding, but at the same point, he had already laid a groundwork that, for a lot of us, is what we love. Like, that particular chapter is so deep and cold, what he had produced already. And that was just the tip of the iceberg, in the grand scheme of it. So, as I was saying to you before we started, I know for a lot of people that's getting into Prince early, I think going over stuff like this is so dope, because then they can really see, like, yeah, the Prince you may have heard of, or is fabulous. But if you just kind of go back and start, and you just kind of really dive into the day-to-days, you'll see, like, there was really nobody that did this type of work ethic and at that high of a level, and was still so driven and going hard and being challenged, as you said, with the time on his neck. That's wild. That's wild. So anyway, I don't want to ramble, but
no, you're not rambling. That's why you're here. So actually, Michael, I want to, I actually asked a lot of people, a lot of my Prince posse, so to speak, if they want to join me. And you were like, immediately, you were like, yes.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
what was it about this book club idea that really spoke to you?
Well, one, I'm a reader. I love to read anyway. And every time, here's the funny thing. When there's a Prince book that drops over the years, whether it's Duane's or it's been, ones in the past, you would think that I'm one of these speed readers that would, I'll read this in like 2 to 3 days. Now, if this was anything else, it'd be a month long, year long. Maybe I get halfway, like, that's another book I want to start. So if it's something about something I love to my core, yes, and it's you, absolutely. So I love this idea. I love the commitment of it, and I think that every Saturday, make sure we're ready to go. Now, imagine if we really was doing it like Prince, we'd be doing this every day. So we just getting a little taste of the commitment, the discipline, and then, like I said, it's a good study thing. And what I love about it, quickly, I would say, is when you start to read it and you get to a certain song, it's like, oh man, I want to go play that song. Like, oh, okay. It gives you just another understanding, another way to look at the song. You listen to it, you're just like, oh, okay, he was in the studio with Whoopie Whoop, and then they was cutting the tape. Oh, okay. Maybe I do hear the little splice. That's why the song jumped like. So it just adds a lot of context, and I think it's fun at the end of the day. So there you go.
Can I add one thing? You were both two people that read the book really early on. And I'm grateful for both of your encouragement and comments, because early on I didn't know how it would be received, and both of you gave me really good thoughts on it. Were very supportive and very kind, and that's when you're coming out with a book, writing the book's half the book, getting it out there is the other half. And a lot of people write a book and then it goes nowhere because they don't have people like you two and other people in this community who see something. And I do this with other people's books too. It's not just my book. If there's a good Prince book, I want to have it out there. I want people to read this. I want people to know more. Susan Rogers said something years ago that we're never going to get Prince back, but all these different stories are going to do little pieces, little dust mites and just bust things that kind of give us some of the picture. And this is what all this is, the podcasts, the blogs, the books, all this stuff are things that help us understand this man. And sometimes our perceptions change. And that's kind of cool too, because we're getting to a point where Prince is no longer this. When he passed away, he was sort of in a deity mode, and everybody kind of, thought he could not make a mistake. And I think it's kind of good to see that this is a human person who worked hard, who struggled, who busted his butt to make sure he was giving. Like you said, he would be doing this every day because he did not stop. There was no rest, and he would wear out one engineer and go to the next engineer, just because that's how he did it. Every person that I've interviewed says the same thing, and I'm sure you guys are the same thing. Is his work ethic was, unlike anybody else, and you rose to that occasion or you fell aside. And that's kind of what I really learned through all these books and all those projects, is that at the end of the day, Prince was still working. He may have had a rehearsal in the morning, he'd have recording in the evening, he'd be going until 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, and then he'd get up in the morning and do more rehearsal, and then he'd work with the time, and then he'd work with Vanity. It's an unstoppable force.
And he did it all fly as F. Suited and booted. Ready. You gotta
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Supposedly he wore makeup to bed sometimes. That's it's crazy.
He was all in. Somebody said this is like Saturday morning cartoons. Perfect. I love it.
So one thing I'm sorry, Michael, but I just want to make sure I catch this, because, sometimes when you're in these conversations, the moment passes and you can't really say, but this is really important to me. One book you should read, if you don't read any book, is actually Prince's own autobiography,
Absolutely.
The Beautiful Ones. Now, I mean, obviously it's not complete, but all my books are in my other room where I would grab it. It's not complete, but one thing that Prince actually said in that book was that he didn't, the word magic didn't apply to him. I think he even said that was Michael's word. He basically said magic is not his word, because he worked hard. I mean, and that's actually one of the reasons why I am doing this again, is working like a job, to actually put some respect on Prince's name, that he wasn't an alien. I think that actually another great book is Andrea Swenson's book, and she said something to the effect that, Prince wasn't an alien that fell out of the sky. Thank you for that. Yeah. And that he was a human being, and this human being did a lot in his lifetime. And we're going to see over the course of the next 4 years, probably 6 years, because hopefully there will be a third Duane Tudahl Studio Sessions book. Yes. And we really hope that one day we can get a because that's actually, I won't.
That's prep. That's prep work. That's nice. That's nice.
Can you get that one more time? You get that. With the reverb and everything. Okay.
I like that, yeah.
Yes, I also have.
Now we're about to start doing reactions in here. Get this whole thing shut down.
Yes,
well,
and
I'm working on book 3.
Awake. Say it again.
Yes, I am working on book 3. I am.
Do you mind talking to us about
I'll talk
it?
about it for a second. Sure.
Okay.
It's 1987, 1988. There's a bit of in the paperback of book 2. There's let's see, cover this up. Talks about there's a chapter in there. Sorry, I'm trying to figure it up and down. There's a sneak preview, basically. Is what it is. And it goes into, it's about a week-long worth of information about starting and recording Love Sexy, and the end of Black Album, where he canceled it. I don't talk about in the paperback, I don't talk about why he canceled it, just more the reaction of once he canceled it, and then going on to the first week or so of recording Love Sexy. And in that, I've interviewed Joe Blaney, who you've interviewed, Eddie Miller, who else? Chuck Zwicky, Levi Alan Leeds, Ingrid, a bunch of people who were there, and they talk about what was like the first week or so of recording almost half the album. And that's kind of fun because that's a period that really isn't talked about as much as the recording of that album. It's daunting. I think the tricky thing for me is the first 2 books were very revolution heavy because that was who was there. And so a lot of people I knew through that book, I can't talk to for the 3rd book. So it's kind of like I'm having to reestablish connections. I know some of these people, but some of these people I don't know. And so it's sort of in the same way Prince was starting a new band, I'm having to start a new group of people I have to interview and new insights. Susan Rogers is involved, but she stopped in mid '87. So she wasn't aboard the Prince train after that, with a small part in December of '87. So there's a lot of cool stuff to it. To me, it's a fun book because I love Love Sexy. I think it's a great album, and it's a spiritual revolution for him. There you are. So you are. It's a spiritual revolution for him, and so there's a difference in the way he's treating people and going into the music. And I think that I love the Black Album personally, but it's nice to see the other side of the coin. This is that. And he even saw it was on the other side of the coin because his concert was basically Black Album, Love Sexy. And I think that you can't talk about one era without really focusing on the other one as well. So deep into it. It's going to be another year, 2 or 3 years before it's done. So I want it done right rather than done fast.
Yeah, we definitely want it done right. So we appreciate that. I'm all about quality over quantity. Even though with this series, it's going to be really lo-fi because I am actually really committed to doing this every week. And the one constraint I have is that we're never going to go over an hour because otherwise it would just become a little unsustainable. And some weeks it might be just 15 minutes. Other weeks it might be 30 minutes. Other weeks it might be a full hour, depending on who I have on. But I really want to do this, 1, for Prince, because he deserves it. 2, for Duane, because the scholarship in Duane's books is unparalleled and it's really important information. And if you're a real Prince fan, you really need to know this stuff. I've read the book a couple times, but usually all at once, kind of like Michael Dean. And I just really wanted to spend more time with it, almost like the Bible. I feel bad saying that,
Wow.
but almost like the Bible. Or Course in Miracles for anybody who knows that. You just can't read those kinds of books all in one sitting. You need time to marinate on them. And I also, it's just so dense with information that, especially as I get older, I forget certain things. So it's a really great way to remind myself and to remember some of, the details. And so I'm really kind of reading this for myself. If I can have any of you join me on a week-to-week basis, at least if I could just have one person out there who joins me. And Michael Dean he's going to be joining me. So I'm really excited about that.
No, I'm just playing. Of course I'm.
Yeah. So I hope that you guys out there are really committed to actually reading Duane's book. Now, if you look at these, What Did Prince Do This Week, that's like the Cliff Note version. And it's so because every week we're going to do like a Prince by numbers, like we did with the little slideshow in the beginning. But you would be doing yourself a disservice if you don't read the book. And so again, you really want to get the expanded edition if you can. But if you can't get the expanded edition and you have the original, that's totally fine. Hold on, put it back up, Duane, so they can see it again. Expanded edition has the little blue letters at the top. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that way that if you're following the schedule, you won't get confused by the page numbers. And I love
to tell you, if it's the paperback, it's the expanded edition. The regular version is not in paperback.
Okay.
So yeah, if that helps.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about Little Red Corvette, the 12-inch. I know Michael Dean got to have something to say about that. What you want to say about it?
Yeah. Well, the first thing talking about the song itself and the creation, like it just kind of blows my mind. Because and I remember trying to remember who was it Peggy or whoever was talking. The engineers was basically saying like that song, Prince and them were editing, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Duane, like they're hard slicing or cutting the 2-inch tape to put the song together. That just sounds so like unheard of to me. Like, so the version that we hear on the album is an edited version of, I guess, with the 12-inch is the full-on version, but it made it sound like whatever version he initially recorded, then they went and cut that up and were rearranging parts and stuff. That just seems crazy. I mean, in my mind, you think, yeah, I would have thought he just played the song and did his whole normal thing, but it sounds like they were even really going in and splicing it up. And this is not digital, so like, what happens if he just made a mistake and you cut too much? Like,
that's the thing, is they did occasionally make mistakes like that. Like they'd take it's just a little sliver too much, and Prince would always hear it. He'd say, "Put that back in." And so you have to go back and find that piece, put that in, make sure it doesn't. There's not a problem. Yeah, digitally now you can do this with Pro Tools, where you can just you can make 1,000 copies of it. When you're cutting on a 2-inch tape, which is, so people understand, 2 inches what things are recorded onto. When you do a session, it's recorded on 2-inch tape. It's then mixed down to a 1/2-inch tape. Generally, you do the splicing on a 1/2-inch tape, and you do it on a copy. They do safety copies, and you do that. On this was actually the 2-inch tape, where they actually, and as I recall, it was delivered in like a basket. You know, they basically had all the extra pieces, and not, you know, they had to kind of figure out, oh, this goes here. He'd recorded it longer, but it was cut up, and they had to kind of, you know, give it life again. You know, it's crazy when you think about somebody actually taking what we see as historically important, because I look at that stuff as as being an archivist's dream, is finding that tape and knowing that, oh, we're just going to cut this randomly and, you know, put this together. You're just like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's wild.
Sorry,
but it just goes to show, to like being in the moment of it, and you're reading this book and you're just sort of in the moment of them making these songs, and they don't have they're not legendary songs at the time. They're not songs we've heard hundreds of times. Like, they're literally just creating this, assuming that each song should just gets its own care like anything else. But just that when you step back and look at it, like, wow, like it could have just been one extra cut here or one, and it could have been something different, or maybe it could have got destroyed. It boggles the mind. And that's a different time too. The fact, the way they recorded back then is so different than what we see today. And the fact that he's playing that stuff, the layers and all.
This is, and you think about,
and it's a great song.
Like you said, it is a great song. And to us, it's gospel. It is one of the tenets of his, you know, every concert he did after that almost always had that song in it. So to us, we know how the story goes, but at that point, you don't know this song is going to be as important and a breakthrough, as vital to his career as that. And they're just, you know, like that is crazy to us. It's literally like we see Michelangelo and we go, okay, that's, you know, we see some things, you know, David's, you know, we see David and we go, that's done. We don't see them chipping away at it and stuff like this, and understanding there's a lot of work involved in this. And to us, it's something that just, I don't know, it's hard to explain when you see it in context. That's such an important part. And then when it was so casually, you know, dealt with, is a bit surprising to me, you know, because to us, that's, you say Little Red Corvette or something, or 1999 in general, that's vital stuff. And to know that wasn't taken as seriously by, you know, I mean, it was, but, you know, to be in pieces in a basket, here you go, you know, that's just odd to me. But, you know, this is kind of the fun thing to me, is finding out how perceptions change over time, you know.
Yeah, and that 12-inch version, I think it said in the book that it only was released in like Belgium and another couple other countries, possibly. I guess
remember that one.
I think it was like Germany
and Belgium, and a few other locations.
Yeah, a few other locations. Yeah,
and then in the US, it was only released as a promo.
Yeah.
So it wasn't for sale. That's wild. Like, as banging as that version of the song is, that's where Prince was at the time. I would just love to be like, who said like, you know what, put that out in Germany.
Let them have it.
Put that out in Germany. I mean, yeah, he's hitting out there in Belgium.
Now they wouldn't have been in the States. That's crazy, man. Like that's a burner. That song's banging.
Both you guys are playing with sound effects here. I feel
You know,
I'm represented. Man. Yeah,
Well, I'm gonna be a little sacrilegious. So Little Red Corvette is I've never liked Little Red Corvette, the song. I didn't like it in real time. I thought Prince was beginning to get too pop. But when I got the 12-inch of Little Red Corvette, and I don't know if you guys remember that bass line.
Mm-hmm.
The bass line. And then him doing his talking, you know what I call his irresistible bitch talking. That blew my mind. And so, like, you know, what I think is crazy about Prince is that he can take what I consider a standard pop fare of Little Red Corvette, and then it just transitions into like this funk masterpiece through the 12-inch. It's like insane. It's like one of the most insane Prince songs on the mixes you can actually listen to, in my personal opinion, just to see how genius Prince really is and how he could traverse different genres, you know, just going like heavy pop to like heavy funk in the same song, you know, with the same parts and everything. It's incredible.
I'm curious, because on one hand, the released version of that song and the cut of that is genius. Like it works, and it gives it room to go, and it's just long enough that it captivates, and I want to learn more about this guy. But I was curious, what do you guys think if like on the album, what the 12-inch version, what was on the album, like if that was released that way, do you think it would have became what it was? The song would have been too long, or would they still would have edited for a single release? Like,
I actually think it probably would not have been a hit. I think it's really important because it's actually one of Prince's biggest pop over hits. It's actually when he was beginning to cross over. And, you know, we've had this conversation a lot in the symposiums. This is not anything new. Crossover means when you get like a majority white audience. And I do think that the 12-inch was really for Black people. I'm gonna be like, in terms of like saying that I haven't forgotten you. I'm doing this pop thing over here, but I'm still here in terms of my funk roots and, you know, like my gospel roots. And I don't think it would have done very well. I don't know why in the world this popped up in my head right now. In the same way that I think Purple Rain, probably the movie, wouldn't have done as well as it did if Vanity would have been in the lead versus Apollonia. Because I see sort of Apollonia as like pop, more accessible. And I see Vanity as being like, I don't know. I just think it's two different vibes, two totally different vibes. And so like for me, the vibe of the 12-inch of Little Red Corvette is totally different than Little Red Corvette. So I actually think of them distinctly. I think of Little Red Corvette on 1999 as in the single as one thing. And I think of the 12-inch as something totally different. And another thing, Michael Dean, again, unfortunately, my collection is in a different room, but if you got the slim line,
we'll wait.
the slimline CD of Little Red Corvette had the 12-inch on it. So that's another thing why I was like an avid record collector, but that was an import, right? So like not only was a vinyl an import, and I got the German import, but I also got the slimline CD because it had the 12-inch version on it. And that was one thing that I really loved about it.
Can I ask you guys one quick question? When was the first time you heard that version? Because I think the first time I heard it was the Ultimate Prince. It was like one of those early compilations. I think it was that one, or and they had the long versions of some of the 12 inches. on the deal, and I think he was on. That was the first time I actually had heard that version of it. I was blown away. Like, whoa.
So I actually heard it. I heard it in real time because, again,
really?
I am an avid record collector. I started collecting with 1999. 1999, the cassette was my very first Prince purchase with my own money. Well, actually, so let me go back. You guys don't want to know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So my very first album was Minnie Riperton's Minnie, but my mom bought it for me. I asked her to buy it for me. We were in a Kmart. I remember this very clearly. We didn't have no money. Yeah, we didn't have no money for an album, but my mom, yes, old school Walmart, Kmart. And she bought it for me. The second set of albums I got, my uncle bought me the Go-Go's, We Got the Beat, and Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll on the same day. So that was like girl power. So that was like good album. So those are my first 3 albums, but other folks bought them for me. So the Prince 1999 cassette was the very first one that I bought. And then, so I just started collecting. I was 11.
Wow.
I was 11. And then, so I got the bug because my uncles, I have to share a photo next week. My uncles, were really big into record collecting. And there's this really fantastic image of me with one of my uncles surrounded by albums. And I had a Heart album in my hand, Barracuda Heart. So again, girl power. I was really big into girl power.
Wow.
So Prince broke my girl powerness with 1999. But in terms of purchasing, but my very first Prince album was Dirty Mind, because I heard that, I think in the same year, actually, I think I heard in the same year that I bought, because I didn't see Dirty Mind in real time, meaning the album.
You were 11 when you bought Dirty Mind?
I was going to say, ooh.
No.
I have a 13-year-old daughter. And
I was 11 when I heard Dirty Mind because I listened to it on headphones at my aunt's house in North Carolina. But I didn't know what I was listening to, Duane. It wasn't that I was listening to it because I was trying to keep it secret. I was listening to it because I love listening to music on headphones, and I didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't know what he was talking about. Like with Little Red Corvette, I didn't know what Trojans were. I thought they were horses.
Right. We're very slick.
So
I first heard the remix in college, which is in real time. We had the 1999 album. We played it back and forth the whole time. It was one of those albums that we put on when you're going to sleep and you just play. Back then the record would go all the way to the end and then all the way to the end. You get really used to it. But somebody had that, and I was like, whoa, well, this is before this pre-Purple Rain. And so we were learning. That's when I started learning what made him interesting is the extra stuff. He's at that level, but there's that extra stuff, the B-sides, How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore? Those kind of things. When they started coming out, when you started realizing, oh, there's an entire collection of stuff that's not even on the album. That's how prolific this guy is. And not only is it, average stuff, it's great stuff. So the remix of this, I was like, that's pretty impressive to me when I heard that and thought, oh, this takes it to this opens doors. This song is this, but with these doors opened, it's that. And that's what it did to me. Kind of opened my mind. So by the time Purple Rain came around, I was already ready. I didn't understand how big he would get because, at the time you're thinking, this is going to be not a cult favorite, but just, never. I didn't expect him to be as big as he became, where he rivaled Michael and stuff like that. I was pretty impressed with the 12-inch of that.
Nice.
So I wanted to, I saw a comment in here that I wanted to respond to. There's so many. Oh, here we go. So Man Ray 10, and it says, see, D'Angelo, Go-Go's, you have some pop in you. I had pop in me until I got to Prince. And then Prince decimated like my popness. And because the one thing I didn't say is probably from 1999 until my early 20s, I only listened to Prince, period. Like if I got in somebody else's car and they had something on, but in terms of my own like listening and my own daily rotation, it was Prince, 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 and Prince. That's all it was.
And
But
related,
you know,
and protege.
and related,
Protege.
yeah.
Okay.
But I consider the related. Like for me, The Time and Vanity 6 is Prince.
Sure.
So, because it is Prince. And what was really great, going back to the newbies, Michael Dean, because I think it's important to talk to the newbies. When I first got the Time record, I didn't really hear Prince because I was so young that I wasn't used to Prince's voice. Right. But when I got Sheila E.'s Glamorous Life, because I like to listen to music on headphones, I heard Prince's track underneath Sheila's, and I was like, what? Now, and the Glamorous Life was 1984, 1999, 1982. So then I started going back and listening to The Time with more attuned ears. And I was like, oh my God, this is Prince on the background vocals. And sometimes like and like for a long time, I thought Tricky was Morris Day. Yeah. And then once my voice, but then once my ears got attuned, I was like, oh my God, my mind blown. It was just like, this is freaking Prince, but it has The Time on it. And so like, it was like crazy. So
that's a good point you made about the Sheila thing, because that's when I started to notice him in the music. I could hear him. He seemed like he allowed his voice to sort of be noticeable in the background, and it was in those that first Sheila and even more so the second Sheila album, where I was like, I think he has way more to do to this than like they seem like they have the same style. Like I think he's literally playing and singing these songs. The same way you discovered that, you can hear him through the Sheila stuff.
Yeah, you can hear him through the Sheila stuff, and that's the reason why one of my favorite post 2016 releases has been Originals. And I really do hope that there is a volumes of originals. Yeah. And actually, a dream of mine, since I like to dream and send out bat signals, is if they would release a box set of The Time, all the Time records, alongside Prince's versions. See? Did you see Michael Dean's?
He's done. He needs a nap. The man needs a nap now. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then if you did because like Vanity, you can't get Vanity 6. I don't even think it's on streaming. And Apollonia 6 is and what I call Brenda 6 is one of the best albums of all time. If you would like put together those two albums, Vanity 6, Apollonia 6, alongside Prince's versions, because my favorite track off of Originals is Prince's version of Makeup.
Yeah. It's fun.
Amazing. That would be wonderful. Yes, C. Lee.
Yeah, that would be nuts.
Tasty. That does sound tasty.
Yeah, it does.
Get it up.
Yes.
Stick.
And I see there are a lot of people out here who are into Originals.
Leave you. You got me started.
Yeah.
Serenade us.
All of this house. Yes, that was.
All right, so we're almost getting to the end, but I do want to bring back the 2 live shows. I am curious. We're going to do this every week if there are any live shows. I want to do a roll call. Was anyone in the audience, did anybody attend one of these shows? The one at the Summit or the one at Lake Charles Civic Center in Louisiana? I got to fix that typo because I see it. Anybody out there? Okay.
Is this the Summit concert that's on video that was circulating back in the day? Or is that a different Summit?
No.
Oh, okay.
Wait, the circulating back in the day, I think so, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's not the same one that came out on the 1999 box.
Gotcha.
The 1999 box was the one that I think that was in at the end of December.
Okay. Oh, we got a yes. Jennifer, which one did you attend? Jennifer, can you let us know which one you attended?
She's not going to tell us.
Girl. but I do like Morrison's Breakdown, baby.
Oh, Jennifer says she went to both.
Whoa!
Wow.
Whoa!
Whoa!
That's hardcore. Yeah.
Whoa,
respect.
Jennifer.
I couldn't even imagine seeing Prince back then. That's
Oh,
How
she
old
said,
is-
wait, no.
Nope.
she'd go back to her data bank.
Yeah, and see, Lee, are you saying that you saw one of the shows?
Oh, listen. Okay, I see.
Oh, I thought you said listen. No, I want to know if someone actually attended. I want to know.
Man, I was there. You know, I was in front row. Vanity Woman was looking at me.
Okay, Playboy.
All right, and then see, Lee, did you? I was saying yes to your other question. Okay, I got it.
I did hear, and just to give you some context, the last show at Dallas of '82 was the first show that Peggy McCreary saw. She'd been working with him in the studio, and he finally said, "Look, I want you to come to one of my shows." And she was like, she'd been working with him now for about a year and a half by this point, since summer of '81. And so she got there, and it was the New Year's Eve show. Let me check real fast. I'm pretty sure it was. Yes, New Year's Eve at the Reunion Arena in Dallas. So Peggy went there, and she said she was blown away. This is a guy she worked with, sitting next to for a year and a half, and to see him on stage, she was like, heart's racing. She's like, oh, and she understood all of a sudden the power of what he could do live. And that to me is kind of cool to know this person who knew this guy for a year and a half goes, yeah, I'll go to your show. So what the heck? And then you sit there going, oh my God, humana. That's something that says a lot about what he gave during that time. So.
God,
I actually found the photo. It looks a little skewed on here, but that's me in the middle. That's my Uncle Charles.
Uncle Charles is cold. Look, yeah. He looks like he's on the second Prince album style. Uncle Charles, play it.
Yeah, I think this is from like 1978. So you can see I have heart.
This is a smile. Look at your smile. Look at that.
That's because I love records. Even
jeez. That's great. ELO behind you.
Yeah, you got ELO. We got Hall and Oates. I think this is like Return to Forever. My uncle's holding Roar Airs. Everybody Loves the Sunshine. This is a Bootsy. This is a Bootsy album over here. This is the only one that I can't tell where it's from. This is at my grandmother's house. And this was a family friend named Cecil. She's no longer with us. But yeah, this kind of shows you I lived for records. And you can see I'm so excited about these records.
That's a beautiful smile.
This is a dope picture right here, actually.
I love it. I'm getting a Snoop.
Hilarious.
Yes, a little Snoop from him.
Wasn't it nephew?
Uncle Charles.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes, and actually, Michael Dean, you would love to know what his nickname was at the time. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Wild Thing.
Wild Thing?
Yeah, that was his nickname.
I know Uncle Charles was probably in some mess, in a good way. To say that with love.
Good trouble.
That's my man, Uncle Charles. But see, that's great because we needed that. That's, I'm trying to be the Uncle Charles to a lot of cats that I have no way of meeting in person, but because I had them older dudes in my family or somebody, maybe, the person that came around and was visiting your mom, you didn't really understand why they were showing up, but they was in the music and they were sharing. You would hear it in the car. Like, oh, okay. And now when you get a little older, you can go back and like, man, that's why I like such and such. Because I remember Uncle Charles or Mr. Such and such, and they was always jamming that Lou Rawls or that da-da-da-da. And it just gets inside of you. And I think a lot of Prince's music, you can hear all of that stuff in it. You can hear the Bootsies, the Parliaments, the James, Sly, and all that stuff just comes from our lineage, man. So yeah, seeing that picture, that's dope. I love seeing stuff like that. I hope the kids today can listen to what they older cats is listening to. Or maybe it may be some 90s or 2000 albums, but that's going to be their starting point, you know. So I love it. I love it.
Awesome. So we are at the end of our session for today. I'm trying to bring back up our schedule with the quickness. Okay, I got it. Let me pop it on here. So next week, we are going to be reading pages 7 to 18, which is Sunday, January 10th, 1983. I see a typo again. From Friday, January 14th, 1983. So I hope that you'll join us. Again, we're not going to go over an hour. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday morning to be with us. Duane, thank you so very much for being on the kickoff session. Really, really appreciate it. And also for giving me your blessing. Thank you for the crowd. Give it to us again. We didn't hear it.
Woo! You
I
want me
gotta,
to
I gotta bring some sound effects next time, man. This is sad. I'm underprepared. I only brought a book.
Lord.
Man.
Yes. So speaking of the book, for those of you who want to be in the party, you gotta have a book. So it's not too late.
It's
Yes,
it's
Hilarious.
there's a lot of detail that we did not go over in this session, and you won't know about it unless you read the book. So there's still time because we only got through 1 week, and we're going to be doing this for the rest of the year. So there's no excuse. You can get the book if you don't have it, or if you don't have the funds, you can probably borrow it from someone, hopefully. But
go to the library. Go to the library.
Or go to the library. Yes.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yep.
Just read.
Yeah. So thank you, Michael Dean. Thank you, everybody out there. Interactive. Yes, I love that. Peace.